welcome to The Power in Your Voice, the podcast by Your Voice. My name is Kayleigh, and today I'm joined by my colleague Sammy for a special episode on neurodiversity. We will talk about our own experiences, how they are similar and how they are different.
Hi, I'm Sammy. So, Kayleigh, I thought we'd just start. You're dyspraxic. Can you tell us what dyspraxia is?
Yes, well, there's 3 types of dyspraxia: oral, verbal, and motor skills. When people think of dyspraxia, they mostly think of motor skills or speech. It also affects lots of other areas of my life, which we will talk about soon. Sammy, what is autism?
So, autism is a lifelong neurodevelopmental disability. It affects communication and social reading of situations. It's a spectrum which has lots of traits. Not everybody has the same traits, or they might not affect everybody in the same way. There used to be labels like high and low functioning, or Asperger's and Kayleigh's autism, but we don't really use those anymore. They're really outdated. But it does have include some more specific conditions, again, which we'll talk about a bit more later. So going back to dyspraxia, Kayleigh, what's it like living with it on a day-to-day, every day?
It can be hard living with dyspraxia. It affects me every day in all aspects of my life. It's really hard to do everything, and I need to think about everything that I do, even doing just simple tasks, like walking or making a drink, is a bit harder for me, especially when you have to do more than one thing at the same time. Sometimes that can be really difficult and at times just impossible.
Yeah, people say don't let your disability define you, but I think sometimes it does, because like with autism as well, it really makes a difference. You have to think about how much you can cope with, like socially. I don't like noises, I don't like people, but the things that I like doing socially include some of those things. What's it like for you?
Yeah, socially it can be hard. Sometimes you miss bits of conversations. People accuse you of not listening. And also because your brain gets tired very quickly, you can't keep up with the rest of everybody else. And also, if your coordination and balance issues become apparent, for example, during a game or sports, nobody really wants you on their team because you're slow.
Yeah, I think also just that's the case for autism too, because you don't fit in the same way as everybody else, and you're always the last one to be picked. And it's sometimes hard to plan fun things and things we like doing because of the overwhelm, and it takes a lot of planning. I know, like, I have to plan the things I want to do, like almost to military precision. How about you?
Yes, I find that really, really helps. However, in my case, it's even more complicated because of my comorbidities. So sometimes it's not just my dyspraxic symptoms that are getting in the way, it's other things as well. So I also have to take that into account. So it means that I'm very varied, and a lot of planning really does help. And when people try and change the plan, it really messes up my head because of my processing issues, alongside the physical elements of dyspraxia. And then I may demonstrate behaviours that people might find over dramatic or out of the ordinary. And then it can get me into trouble, which is not very nice because actually it's to do with my condition.
Yeah. So, just like, do you remember what it was like at school, or maybe what it's like at work? Because I think we're really, really lucky at work. We've got really understanding employees who really help us and tell us what we're doing and stuff.
Yes, I'd just like to take the chance to praise our employers, Inclusion Gloucestershire, for all the reasonable adjustments that they make, and what a difference it makes to work life and maintaining work life. It's been a struggle to find work that meets all the requirements of my disability, let alone something that I can actually do and is stimulating. And also, in school, when you got the adjustments, school life was great. For example, in primary school, they used to have a bed for me. So if I got tired, I could have a nap, and that would really make a difference. And also, they would let me sit on a chair during assemblies, so I wasn't hunched up on the floor because of my posture issues. And all those things did make a difference. And being in smaller groups. Secondary school wasn't so great at making the reasonable adjustments. And I had a really hard time there. And I went to a school that had lots of steps, and dyspraxic and lots of concrete steps were not a good mix. And I used to take a tumble most days. And just getting around the school and not getting into trouble was sort of like doing a day's work within itself.
Yeah, I love secondary school because that's where reasonable adjustments were made for me. My head teacher was wonderful, but that was 20 years ago. He was one of the first heads to sort of try and include people with disabilities in mainstream school. Yeah, no, but work is great because, like, I get very tired very easily, and I start work earlier than so that I can go home earlier, and then I have a sleep on the bus. I like having that quiet space with my headphones on, where I don't have to interact with people, and my flat has to be quite dark and quiet so that I don't get overwhelmed and I don't and everything, and I also have a visual impairment, so everything's in its right place so that I know where it is. Otherwise that will freak me out because I find that really difficult. As an autistic person, everything has its place, and it needs to stay there. Or although I can very easily make my house look like a bomb's hit it, because the executive function doesn't. So that's when you have problems knowing how to start stuff and knowing how to the next steps of things. So I get overwhelmed at home sometimes. Do you find it hard keeping house, Kayleigh?
Yes, I do. I kind of developed a sort of mental health condition because of this. So I have like obsessive compulsive disorder, and that kind of helps me with managing my dyspraxia, because like you say, if everything has a rightful place and is in a alignment and in the right way, and I can see it and know where it is, I can process it. That's always in that place, and that's where it goes. And yes, I can relate to a step-to-step guide on things. However, sometimes that can backfire, because if somebody was to write something down wrong, even if I knew it written in my head different, I would do it the wrong way, because that's what I can see and that's what's in front of me.
Yeah.
And when things are not how I put them and how I expect them to be in my mind, it can cause me a lot of panic and distress. And also is quite severe to the point where in the past I have had an outfit choice in my head but been wearing different clothes and described the outfit choice that was in my head rather than what I was actually wearing. And like I was lost, and the people trying to look for me couldn't find me because I described somebody else. And like, yeah, that's quite, extreme.
Yeah. Does it help to have special equipment when you're cooking and showering and stuff?
Oh, yes. I would say that is a godsend and really, really helps me loads with my independence. Just things like that can help me open jars, special cutlery. I mean, if I'm out and about, I sometimes favour finger foods because I find it harder, although I can use other forms of cutlery. The food hits my mouth a lot more precisely when I use my ones that have the thicker grip on it. And just having slight adaptations to my home as well. Things like having a fitted oven so I'm not bending over with hot pans that could easily fall out of my weak wrists. And an overhead shower so that I can independently wash my hair, because without that, I tried to manage with jugs of water before, and there was more water over the bathroom than over my head, as you can imagine. And when I'm not at home and the adaptations are not there, it makes me feel like a lot more disabled.
Yeah, I mean, like, talking of going out for food, I went out for food with my friend just this week, and actually it was really nice because the food was separated on the plates and nothing was touching, so that was nice. And so also I'll eat one specific part of the meal at a time. So like if I'm eating chicken and chips, most people will take like a bite of chicken and then some chips and then some sauce, or no, I eat it all I'll eat it in sequential order. So because the sensory way it feels in my mouth and the way I swallow, so And I like having different colours separated and sorted out because that makes more sense than jumbled up. But when things are a bit oversensory, how do you cope? When things go wrong, how like you said earlier, you get a bit angry. But what happens?
Well, it can be anything from, being really destructive, to needing to immediately be out of that space, or being in a dark, quiet space. And yes, again, like, I can relate to what you're saying, because I don't particularly like food touching on the plate, because it just gets overwhelming sometimes when it's all piled up. And yeah, like, to how things feel in my mouth. I mean, I've vomited before because of how the texture of something or the taste. And then, like, I might get accused of, like, having a tantrum. But it's just an overwhelming sensory experience, and my brain is saying no to it, and I need it to immediately stop, and I sometimes can't do that on my own. As I've got older, I've learnt to kind of say I'm not feeling well, so that I can leave the situation. But sometimes I can't always express how I'm not feeling well, because people don't get sensory overloading. For example, when it comes to, like, bugs that, like, buzz right by me, it really, really makes me feel not good and unwell. And then people often say, just keep calm, it's not going to hurt you. And it's like, it's not that. It's the fact that it's buzzing right by me and it's in my head and I can't take it out of there. And it's making me feel really unwell.
I think a lot of people don't understand how loud things and like bright things can be. Like, I went to a shop once and I was really disorientated for a moment, and my support worker that was with me was like, what's wrong? And I was like, wait, what's that noise? And she couldn't hear it, and then I saw the electricity generator, and you could literally hear, like you were saying about the bug, you can literally hear the electricity. And like, I went to school in the 80s, and I'm sure those of you that went to school in the 80s can remember those horrible electric strip lights which buzzed all day. and yes, and I think, you were saying you more have a meltdown and get angry. Well, I mean, I get angry, but more often than not, I'm on a dark space, and at work I go and sit in a very quiet cupboard that everybody knows where it is, with the lights off, which is really good.
I've sometimes as well, it could be like things like things that I just have to touch, like bits of fabric, or like I just have to fiddle with it or stroke it or touch it. Like I need to feel it. And in the same respect, there's also things that I don't want to touch. I don't want it on my hands. Like, I would literally probably bite my whole hand off because I need to get that, whatever it is, off my hand. But if it's something that I really, really like and I really love, I'll want to smother it all over my hand or my face, and I really enjoy that and get really excitable. And it can be colours as well, like it could be anything. and I just really get obsessive, and just really, when it feels good, it feels really good and really stimulating. But sometimes I can get overstimulated and I need others to intervene, because I could be so stimulated over something I wouldn't sleep for days.
Yeah, I mean, I always normally carry a bit of wool with me, which I have lots of different textures of pieces of wool, which I don't think Kayleigh's seen me without a piece of wool for quite a while. So I understand and there are some things I hate on my hands, like soap. I hate like shower gel and stuff. I hate that. So I try and use like shampoo bars and stuff, because I mean it's better for the environment, but it's less. But also I do what's called stimming, so that's when, like, especially I hand wave quite a lot, especially when I'm really excited about something. And I like going on swings, which is a it's a movement stim, so that you can get pleasure out of the way you're balanced, and I like that. Sorry, I just talking about it, I'm suddenly flicking my fingers and stuff. So yeah, and that's quite common with people with autism, is to sense that sensory need, and yeah, it's a way of regulating how your body feels about things. Yeah, and it can be a form of comfort sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, like sometimes I do things, I don't know if it's stimming or what it is. Maybe it's like a subtle sign to let somebody else know that I'm struggling or I'm really happy. And sometimes because my dyspraxia, like I'd have this urge to constantly pull my hands up to my face or out in front of me, so I will sort of sit and squeeze my fingers a lot, or like in meetings, or if I'm out, like sometimes I like my hand to be at my face. And yeah, I just got this constant urge to do it. And even like if I'm watching TV or something, my daughter will say, "Mum, you've got a floating hand again." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry, didn't realise." So yeah, or when I like get really, really mad or angry, I might headbang, or I might sort of punch myself in the head. And I think it's frustration. Not really sure why exactly that I behave in that way when I'm feeling that way. It's just something that I've always done, and I don't really know how to not do it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of autistic children do that, like, because they haven't got the words to communicate when they're stressed. And a lot of parents worry quite badly. I can't remember whether I did. I certainly, from the first day at nursery, my mum got a phone call like I wasn't responding the way that they wanted me to, and I was just in the book corner with my blanket over my head. But yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, Sammy. It's like, generally when I'm feeling well, I can verbally communicate fairly well. When I'm experiencing distress or overstimulation, I lose my ability to communicate so well, and it gets missed by others, because generally I present very well, and I can say yes and I can say no, somehow my rational thinking just goes when something bad is happening to me or really, really good is happening to me. Whether it's, again, to do with the concentration side of dyspraxia, because I'm so fixated on what I'm feeling, I can't really think of anything else in the moment, or whether it's like part of a comorbidity of like mental health or a combination of the two. Just don't really know.
Yeah, well, when I'm shutting down, I forget. I go selectively mute, I guess, but like I forget how to speak. I literally forget how to speak, and because they're unseen disabilities, I think other people don't understand. Like I have to carry it with me on my phone. I have a text to speech app so that I can at least get home, so like I can play where I need to go on the bus or whatever. Or yeah, but I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was so tired. I was shutting down, and I just forgot how to speak. And it was like, even the process of opening my mouth, it's really weird. But sometimes you just don't want to speak, or you don't want to, because you're shutting down and you want to go really still and silent, and yeah.
It reminds me, like, when I didn't get off the bus at the right stop, or forgot what stop to get off at, even though I did it every day. And people would question, well, how could you forget, or how could you not know, or how could you get lost? But I can't really answer it. I just did. And then I got really disorientated and really distressed. But lucky, one of the mums who were at the bus stop ready to greet their children knew who I was and knew my mum and called my mum and like got me home. So that was a bit of luck. Don't know what would have happened had that not have been the case. But yeah, sometimes there can be many stories looking back that maybe you can have a chuckle about now, but at the time felt really like awful.
Yeah, and distressing, and then like, yeah, and you had no way of communicating that.
Yeah, and like when people would say, walk properly, and I was like, I am. And it's like, what is proper to me and what is proper to you is always going to be different. And I just think the fact that I am walking is a real achievement. To sort of like, you know, look where you're going and get your legs to sort of move at the same time is a real trick. And when I've been poorly and spent a lot of time in bed, I've had to relearn to walk again because it just goes. So that can be hard as well. And I tell people, I can get on a bike. I can ride a bike, but I cannot safely ride a bike. Because they think that, oh, maybe your learning is so severe that you don't know, put your foot on the pedal and do all these things. And it's not that. It's getting my limbs to...
It's the gross motor skills of being able to coordinate.
Yeah, and not crash into people's cars and do a hand signal and not wobble off the bike. So I have just decided that for my safety, riding a bike is not for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was 12 when I learned to ride a bike. I I didn't even, like everybody else had been learning for years, but no, I was 12. With both dyspraxia and autism, when you've met one neurodiverse person, you've met one neurodiverse person. So I think there are a lot of similarities in a lot of neurodiversities. And a lot of neurodiversities are co-occurring anyway. Like a lot of people with autism will have ADHD or dyspraxia or dyslexia or something that, or so it's a bit hard to see what the differences are sometimes because they might co-occur. I mean, what was nice quite recently was seeing Lewis Capaldi be able to show, because like a lot of the time we're trying to fit in and mask and trying to show people that we're like normal people. I mean, what is normal? But like, so I learned, because I didn't get diagnosed until I was older. I learned to copy other people and copy their social signs, even if I didn't understand what they meant. I learned to copy that. And particularly with autistic women, they do that a lot, you know, and and you're told from a really young age, like Kayleigh was saying, of don't do that, just walk properly, or don't behave, or like I'll say I've got no social filter, so if somebody's wearing something I don't like, as a kid, I'd go, I don't like that lady swearing, and my parents would be like, no, don't. I'm really sorry, no, don't say that, or when you went up to the desk to get your work marked at school, the teacher would like say, look at me, and like I learned how to make fake eye contact, if that makes sense. And as I grew older, I just got so practiced at doing all of those things. And so it was nice. I don't know if everybody's probably seen it. Lewis Capaldi being able to show his tics, which he has newly diagnosed as Tourette's, and the Glastonbury crowd just sang for him and supported him. And it's really wonderful when you see people like that, and like, you know, and I know when it's just really nice sometimes when you have public role models of what, yeah.
Yes, it is nice when you have public role models. It really makes me feel happy. See people who struggle in similar ways doing really well. Because although I have a different story, I can relate to them and I can kind of guess like how hard it has been for them to get where they are and maintain it. So it makes me feel really happy. And also, it was something like I've been waiting for, like in childhood, like to see it now. And it's like, yeah, this is what I'm comfortable with. Like before, I felt uncomfortable and I didn't know what it was. And it was because, like, I was missing my peers that I can relate to. And Sammy mentioned about masking and copying, and I think that was such a saving grace getting through life. You know, the amount of detentions that I've got out of just by copying other people's work. You know, just got me through the day, because I really, really didn't have a clue on what to do and how to do it, and the support wasn't there. And I just couldn't bear the thought of getting in trouble again. And I think the people around me felt for me in that way, until they realised that maybe they were carrying me and didn't want to do it anymore. And then that's really hard, because you think you have a solid foundation for a friendship, but actually you don't. You might have one or two common interests, and that's about it. So that can be really hard. And also, some people have like undiagnosed autism, and some people have diagnosed autism. And because we're all individuals, who knows? But what we do know is we see and look at the world differently to somebody who's neurotypical, and that's what it is. And some of our individual needs may differ, and some of them may be the same. That's what it is. We are who we are. And once upon a time, I wrote some lyrics that included that I didn't want people to see my disability. I just wanted them to see me for me. However, I realised that it is part of me, and I'm really proud, and I'm just thankful for the people who are supporting me and are really seeing me now, and I'm really seeing myself and thinking, wow, how amazing. And it was the people who put me down that were wrong and couldn't make those adjustments, not me. And I feel amazing because of that.
And I think accepting yourself and I think other people accept you more if you are yourself. And I think that's what Lewis Capaldi proved, and working in the situation that we work in. And I know that that's not the case for every neurodiverse person. But it gives you a sense of belonging, and I think you find your own tribes in life, and you find people who have commonalities with you, and people that only understand and accept you for who you are and what you are. And like I said at the beginning, so many times you're told, oh, don't let your disability define you or control you or what, and that leads to people going, oh, I don't want people to see me as disabled. But I think certainly with neurodiversity, letting go of some of that and letting people see who you really are really helps.
Yeah, and I'm realising that now. I think because I got bullied, I held on to a lot of resentment and shame and negativity, and because I'm so variable and nobody knew, well, who is this person? Either you can or you can't. And it's like, well, today I can, tomorrow I can't. And that's just who I am, and that's what it is, and that's the nature of my condition. And I'm not going to apologise for it anymore. And I think either you understand, or you want to understand, or you don't.
And I think some days it's okay to have an I can't do day and be disabled and be cross and frustrated about how your disability affects you. I think, it's we're very lucky. We go to work, we get up, but sometimes that's just impossible, and accepting that is really good as well for our mental health and stuff. Kayleigh, thank you for having me on your podcast, because you normally do it with Cody, who will be back.
Oh, thank you for coming. It's been good, and it's been really nice and interesting learning about you, and it's just like, it's hard to describe. It's just, I feel the power in your voice.
And with that, we ask you to subscribe and like and give us ratings on Spotify. Yeah.